The contrast between the election results north and south of the border ought to have concentrated the Westminster Government's attention on the urgency of making sure that the current devolutionary structures are not only defended but strengthened. The Conservatives' majority allows them, in practice, and for the time being, to resist calls for a second vote on independence. From a Unionist perspective, that demands goodwill, or it risks the SNP's undoubted electoral mandate hardening, if it is not already, into one for another referendum. The Chancellor's announcement of his plans for the UK budget, however, suggests that no consideration has been given to the timetabling difficulties created for Scotland's fiscal planning. This may be an unintentional slight, but it cannot be seen as anything other than a slight. The budget delay caused by the general election may have been unavoidable, but this foul-up should have been prevented. Reassurances of advance information, or claims that Holyrood has time between March 11 and its deadline at the end of the financial year to enact its own plans, may be technically accurate, but they look like a blithe disregard for Scotland. English departmental spending and forecasts of tax revenues have implications for the block grant, which might need to be examined and resolved in days, rather than the usual weeks or months. It's reasonable of Finance Secretary Derek Mackay to describe this as disrespectful. Even if he can in theory set a budget before the Chancellor's, he must know it would be foolhardy, and the UK government ought to have recognised that, too. Even if one were to accept Chancellor Sajid Javid's view that the situation is manageable, Westminster's apparent failure to have noticed the implications for Scottish council budgets, with a legal deadline actually on the day set for the UK budget, is inexcusable. No one, whatever their party allegiance, expects financing an organisation of critical public services to be undertaken blind. If avoiding this scenario requires a change to the current law, as the nationalists have suggested, or leads to a greater divergence in, for example, income tax rates, the Tories will have scored an avoidable own goal. It will be impossible to characterise it as an SNP failure, or a power grab. It will be an undermining of the Union entirely constructed in Whitehall. At the very least, it's an almighty mess. The Conservatives' rediscovery of themselves as a one-nation party ought not to mean solidifying new support from the north and south of one nation alone. They have the leeway that comes with a handsome electoral mandate in England, and over the UK when it comes to Brexit. In Scotland the opposite is true. If they want to improve their position in this part of the UK indeed, if they want to ensure the survival of the UK. For more on this story, visit the news article link.